Veterinary Eye Talk, let's go!
All right, welcome back. Hey everyone, apologies for the background noise if you can hear it. I'm currently in a clinic, if you can tell by the poster behind me if you're watching. And I'm here today joined with Dr. Ben Reynolds, as always, all the way over there in Las Vegas, Nevada. Was recently in Australia, which was great. We got to catch up, and we won't talk too much about that, what happens on tour. And today we're talking about chronic superficial keratitis, or pannus. And so why don't you just fire us straight in, Ben? Firstly, how have you been the past few weeks? What's been new? And then why don't we, just looking at the call sheet, because we've decided we've got to stay more on track. Why don't you describe to us, I guess, what pannus is at a very sort of, general level?
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me and hosting. I've been doing really well. I'm a married man now, so I've been a little bit distracted from the podcast. So apologies for the long hiatus. And with responsibility in marriage comes other responsibilities like having call sheets. So what a mature decision we have for this podcast. Yeah, with that in mind, so pannus is, or chronic superficial keratitis, is essentially an immune-mediated disease of principally the cornea, but we know other ocular structures, sometimes the third eyelid as well, can be involved, of essentially in dogs. Really predictably, we see some breeds involved. So any shepherds, we see really classically. Greyhounds are the other classic, which in the state of Nevada, I mean, frankly, it's way too damn hot anyway for greyhound racing, but also the legalities, we just don't get many greyhounds at all. Whereas in Australia, they're very common. And yeah, occasionally we see like a pannus-like syndrome in like collies and other breeds like that. Anything you'd want to add on top of that, Paul?
No, that's brilliant. And I'm curious, is there any dog racing do the doggies run in the US, or nah? It's just not a
mate, I mean, what
Australian pastime.
What an ethical quagmire you've opened up. But I mean, in short, yes, but not in every state. And then I think in some states they have like things we don't have in Australia. The dogs jump over hurdles and stuff while they run and stuff like that. So yeah, in the majority of states, no, they do not. Whereas in Australia, it is very common. But so essentially in Nevada, definitely not. I haven't seen any racing greyhounds since being over here, or even retired racers actually.
Apart from, there was the one, do you remember like a couple of years ago where, let's not get political, but in New South Wales they just suddenly banned greyhound racing overnight with like it was just like, it's done. And I think that would have lasted like, I don't think it lasted more than
6
month,
hours, if that. The weight of gambling New South Wales came down like a bricks. Yeah. It turns out we're keeping it. Oh man!
It turns out we've changed our mind. Yeah. No, it's no, I hadn't even thought about it. But no, that's like that's spot on. I mean, you can't really do a better summary than that. I feel like much of what Ben has said. The name keratitis, I guess, is a bit misleading in that we do see some forms that we'll talk about in this, Ben said, the third eyelid. And then, those are the two breeds that I see. I can't really think of, it'd be so unlikely that I see it in other breeds.
So in other shepherd breeds like Belgian shepherds or Swiss white shepherds or whatever, but I mean, obviously just by popularity, like German shepherds are the obvious one. We see it in all the time.
Yeah. All right. So then I guess going on to the next point of the call sheet, what do you use to treat it? What's your sort of methodology? And what are some predisposing factors other than breed?
Yeah, we touched on breed, touched on the big one. So we know that dogs who are particularly predisposed to high UV exposure seem to not only get more recurrences of pannus, but get a nastier flavor of pannus. Similarly, we know our age as well. Younger dogs seem to get a more severe flavor of pannus than the older guys. The older guys tend to get a more easily controlled, smoldering version. I tend to control these in 2 phases. So I use topical steroids essentially in the acute phase. So any active inflammation that's going to be really useful for. At the same time, I'll start them on B-cell inhibitors, so tacrolimus or cyclosporin. Even though it takes a couple of weeks to a month to take full effect, we want to start that ball rolling pretty quickly. And that's my long-term therapy once the acute treatment's under control. Majority of cases I feel like I control like that. We can touch on the refractory cases, I guess. Not to predict what the run sheet is, but maybe that's the next thing. What about you, Paulie? What do you treat these guys with?
No, I'm exactly the same. I'd say the only thing that varies it would be if for some reason owners are not able to get drops in for compliancy issues, and then you have to get a bit creative. And in those scenarios, I lean on subconjunctival injections and even subconjunctival implants like cyclosporin, which is surprisingly quite easy to place and tend to be well tolerated. I have seen a couple burst out. Well, not a couple. I've seen 1 or 2. And I don't know if that was the dog was irritated and rubbed that. But no, it's pretty well the same. I mean, the ideal to me is getting them on drops and getting them under control that way, and then just continuing, as Ben said, with the topical therapy. The only thing I'd add is, and it touches in on the UV exposure, is I always warn clients that it's a lifelong treatment, and sometimes there's a seasonal change where, in Australia at least, we tend to see, in summer they might need to go back on the steroid drops for a bit, and, all of those sorts of things. I'm fortunate in that I don't see many refractory cases, but that is the next point. So what do you do when you have a refractory case? I mean, I can't actually think of the last one that I saw. I tend to get, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, I don't know if it's by virtue of, certainly when I used to think of Las Vegas, I thought of it just as a flat desert. But it's actually a 40-minute drive from a ski resort. It's honestly Mount Charleston, shout out. But there's quite high altitude, and you just scale a little bit higher, and suddenly you're so high that it snows. So we get clients, and southern Utah, we're the closest for clients there, and where there's lots of big mountains and things. Yeah, we do get some refractory cases here, more than I probably saw back home in Australia. Essentially, touching on for you for cases that are difficult to medicate, that's the next step. So ideally, if the clients can medicate their animals, then it's a bolster therapy, things like subconjunctival triamcinolone, using like 4 to 6 milligrams per eye of triamcinolone. Is where I start, and then subconjunctival cyclosporin injections if the owners are up for it, would be great. Other than that, it's like increasing frequency of medications or increasing strength of medication. So if I was on a 0.03% tacrolimus, couldn't control it, you'd consider jumping up to a 0.1%, or in crazy cases like a 1%, things like that. How about you, Paul? Anything big that I'm missing, or you feel like you've tried?
No, I think that pretty well covers it.
I can vouch for brachytherapy and low dose radiotherapy and stuff. I've never had to consider that.
Yeah, I've never been in a situation where I've had to, as you said. I can vouch for the high altitude in Vegas, because I was over there a couple of months ago, if you guys don't remember, and went out to Breckie with Ben, and then shot across to Zion, which world's best kept secret. What a place.
Hey, Zion. We're going to have another podcast episode on Zion National Park. Amazing.
Anyway, I did the Angels Landing hike, and I didn't realize we were at altitude, and I just figured, it's not too bad. So I did everything you're not supposed to do the night before with adjusting for altitude. I sank maybe 8 beers or something, had a barbecue, was having a great time. Next day, we're in Angels Landing. Me and my fiance are climbing up to the point where you meet, and I'm getting short of breath. And I was like, the cardio is just not where it used to be. I'm a bit afraid of heights. And so instead of stopping to adjust for each increment, I just these things you just got to push through. So I shoot all the way up to the top, and then we get to the point where we're walking out onto the chain, and I grab onto the chain, and I nearly pass out. And I was like, well, I am like, nah, like if I fall here, I'm done. So I walk back to the main point, and M goes out to go to the point. I was sitting there. One of the park rangers comes up to me and was like, "Sir, you do not look good. Do you need us to call anyone?" And all I was thinking was an emergency evacuation from Angel's Landing. How expensive would that be? I'll just I'll just sweat it out. So I lay up there at the top looking at the birds about 30-40 minutes till M got back, and then anyway, I'm still fine. But altitude.
You didn't make it all the way up, mate. I mean, yeah, like, altitude will get you. Altitude will get you. And like Paul, like Angel's Landing, for those listening, it is a perilous climb of switchbacks. It's very physically straining, even without the altitude. And you get to this summit point that I think Paul's referring to. From there, you take like a chain up a single one per person, and you are looking at cliff face on either end. It is stunning. It's beautiful, but yeah, Paul was seeing the angels. His life was over.
And they've got a little poster at the front just to really get you hyped up, telling about how many people have fallen and died.
Oh my Lord! Not helpful.
But no, highly recommend. I'll be going back. I'll be adjusting to the altitude properly, and I'll be doing it again properly at some stage. Yeah, well, I want to come visit Vegas. I was going to call you the other day. There's some events coming up next year that I'm really keen on that I care not to share on here because they're very nerdy. But
Thunder from Down Under plays every night. It's not a special
every single night.
Every night. Yeah, no, sounds good, dude. Yeah, we'll talk. There's always something on. Always something on.
Yeah. All right. Well, no, I think that's we've done well with the refractory cases. So I guess the last point would be adjunctive therapies. I mean, we sort of have already alluded to it, but what can you recommend to owners aside from medications to really sort of, help reduce the risk or reduce the severity of the disease?
As we've touched on, UV is a big factor with this disease. So there's all sorts of products available with the advent of Amazon. Now there's even cheaper products available, but sort of the OGs in the space were products like Ret Specs or Doggles. Great puns. As a pun master myself, shout out to them. But yeah, essentially anything we can do to reduce UV. As a general rule, dogs do not tolerate those glasses. You will have to train them. They bloody hate it from nearly all owner reports. Occasionally we'll get an owner that tolerates it well. The more practical thing is, and I'm sure you're the same, Paulie, but just telling the owners to look up when the UV index is highest and try and avoid taking the dog outside in those hours might help as an adjunct.
Yeah, which is something people are pretty used to doing in Australia just for our general skin. I mean, but yeah, the UV is a big one and really, really, obviously a big factor. I can't really think of much more other than to completely concur with the fact that I'm yet to meet a dog who likes the goggles. And I don't know, sometimes they look all right, but yeah, I think some owners, they can't deal with the fashion side of it. Yeah.
Both of us are pained old basketball fans yearning for the pre-Steph Curry era, but you see the new players wearing the goggles and stuff when they win championships. I'm like, it doesn't look cool on people, let alone on dogs. I mean, maybe I'm getting old.
The champagne.
Yeah, the champagne goggles. I'm like, you wouldn't have seen Jordan doing that. No, it's not cool.
Nah.
Not cool. Looks even less cool on a dog. So anyway.
I mean, is that like a sponsorship thing, you think, or is that like a genuine is that like a insurance thing? It's like someone on a big contract lost an eye to
champagne cork that touched the retina. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question, mate. Good question.
All right. Well, we'll wrap up there. Thanks, everyone. Sorry about the hiatus. Ben was getting married. There's lots of good stories from that we'll touch on. But we want to launch back in. We've got a website coming, which is going to be great, and there'll be some suggestion points there. So, well, not suggestion points, but topics that you can fire in. And the idea is with the call sheet, hopefully we should try and stay on path, because I listened to the last episode and I remember it was like I was the one who made the call that it was antibiotics, and then I listened to myself crapping on about like other things that weren't antibiotics, and I was like, oh,
Other
Paul.
things,
Like,
but and it's also we also need to do a better job catching up outside of the podcast. I'm like,
Yeah.
I love Paul. I just want to chat to Paul, hear about his life, and everyone else gets to hear about it too. Which, yeah, not the most fun, efficient thing.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week or the week after.
Catch you.
See you, mate.